And I think actually we
I
should because
mean,
apparently everybody does not know who Henry Kissinger is.
mm,
So we might
and
need a little primer on that, Camus. I mean, you did a good job. You came in letting the chopper sing off the break. That was beautiful. But if we want to elaborate, because I don't think you can over eulogize demons. Everybody needs to know all the depths of the demoniac. You know what I'm saying? So
the the demonium, the levels of dominium, and
mm,
demonium. Yeah,
mhm.
so Reuters, Erica added this couple stories for us to the run sheet. Shout out to her.
Thank you, Sister Erica.
And here we have just a Reuters rundown. Let's see, we got Kissinger getting the Nobel Prize, Kissinger with Nixon.
Hold on, what
And
year was that? What year did he get the Nobel Peace Prize?
what year was that?
It was the early
In the
70s.
70s?
Yeah.
Oh, it
It
doesn't
was,
say. It doesn't give the date here. Yeah.
it was somewhere around
And he got to
70.
die at his home in Connecticut. That's
Mm.
just
Ain't that a bitch? But
mm.
yeah, I'm so goofy. I thought, the Nobel Peace Prize had been delegitimized after they gave it to Obama. But no. Apparently, the
Oh,
Nobel
Oh
Peace
no,
Prize
no, no, no.
has
The
been shit
reason
for
they
a very
could
long
give it,
time.
the reason they could give it to Obama in advance of him doing anything,
Right.
in the hope that he would not. Remember when the guy gave it to him and they said that they literally said this is in the hopes that you will earn it. I mean, because I remember I went to my class that same day and I was like, you know what, y'all, everybody, I've already submitted your A's for your grades this semester, and I'm just doing it in the hopes that you will earn it throughout the rest of the semester. But they could do that because he had already
Mm.
been, they had already, yeah, that's a much better story and picture, an appropriate picture. But
mm.
then he gets to die at his home in Connecticut, to Kamal's point. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, one of the reasons he would have had to die at his home in Connecticut is because if he left this country, he might have gotten snatched up for war crimes on some charge internationally. I thought for a while, at least, that was always a threat for
Au
him.
contraire, though, because
Oh, no?
recently, I want to say within the past 3 months, Kissinger actually traveled to China. For what? I don't know. But he was over there. And I remember being surprised, to your point. Like, I thought this nigga couldn't lead the country. Nope. He was
Mm.
over there in China
He is an
recently.
American diplomat. He has the protection of 800 military bases across the world. I mean,
Mm,
people ain't going to just. And in China,
Mm.
and again, Henry Kissinger is noted for being the architect of the quote unquote the American version of it, opening up China. Right. So under Nixon,
mm,
again, China and the United States established diplomatic ties. The United States no longer claimed that Taiwan was China, even though there was a billion people right there next to it or whatever. So it was under Kissinger's so-called tutelage that the America and China established diplomatic relations, and so he is credited with that. And probably still is frequently, like you said, like is allowed or welcomed in some cases by certain aspects of the Communist Party to come to China to have conversation talks. So that's, yeah, for me, that's not surprising at all.
mm.
So just quickly, and I'm happy to be corrected on that, although I'm saddened that was not the case. But we got to get him on here because Orasami Burton's father was actually really cool at one point with Robert F. Williams, and shared with us a little story about how Williams had been accepted, of course, to go to Mao, invited by Mao to go to China. And when Kissinger showed up to deal with Mao, went over to China to deal with Mao, apparently Kissinger walks in the room and he sees Robert Williams standing right behind Mao and turned white as a
Oh,
ghost. Yeah, so we gotta get him on to tell the rest of that story. But that must have been
that's
hilarious,
a great story. That would be, yeah.
Be like, I thought, oh man, I thought we would never have to deal with you again, and here you are hanging out with Mao. Anyway, so
So I'll read a couple of paragraphs of this just to give people some background about who Kissinger is. And it says Kissinger helped to prolong the Vietnam War and expand that conflict into neutral Cambodia, facilitated genocides in Cambodia, East Timor, and Bangladesh, accelerated civil wars in Southern Africa, and supported coups and death squad throughout Latin America. He had the blood of at least 3 million people on his hands, according to his biographer, Greg Grandin. And as folks, people don't even know these numbers. In the American War on Vietnam and close and countries nearby, like the total death toll ranges at a conservative level, 3 to 4 million people, Vietnamese, who were killed in the American War on Vietnam. Those numbers are never quoted. You will hear constantly anybody who is a student of history. You will constantly get the numbers of the 58,000 American troops who were killed. That number gets seared into the folks who, gave their lives or blah, blah, blah. But the fact that over 3 million people, 3 million Vietnamese, mostly civilians again, through the strategies of carpet bombings, of burning villages, of dropping napalm, of hoarding people basically into concentration camp style facilities, over 3 million people were murdered by the United States during that war. But that is not a well-known piece of history, right? And again, they do that thing where it's complicated, it's both sides and all that kind of stuff. But and again, it's not Kissinger alone who was, in terms of these numbers, they're suggesting that he might have been responsible in terms of his policies for that. But it is throughout the history of that war that 3 to 4 million people, and also before the United States officially got involved on the ground, it paid for 80% of the French effort to recolonize Vietnam. And obviously, after the French were defeated, Diem Bien Phu, the United States stepped into the war and took the place of the French in terms of being the on-the-ground troops to recolonize Vietnam. It says, further, a 2023 investigation by The Intercept found that Kissinger, perhaps the most powerful national security advisor in American history and chief architect of U.S. war policy in Southwest Asia from 69 to 75, was responsible for more civilian deaths in Cambodia than was previously known, according to an exclusive archive of U.S. military documents and interviews with Cambodian survivors and American witnesses. It says that Kissinger bore significant responsibility for attacks in Cambodia that killed as many as 150,000 civilians, up to 6 times more non-combatants than the United States has killed in airstrikes since 9/11, according to experts. And it says Kissinger was born in Germany in May of 1923, immigrated to the United States in 1938 among a wave of Jews fleeing Nazi oppression. In other words, Europeans fleeing oppression from other Europeans.
Wait, not the Palestinians?
Not the Palestinians.
I thought it was the Palestinians.
I thought it was.
Had to have been. That's why
My fault.
Israel's bombing
Damn.
now, right?
I'm just wrong all morning. I thought it was
their
the Palestinians. My
homeland.
fault.
It says, while teaching at Harvard, he was a consultant for the administrations of John F. Kennedy, Lyndon B. Johnson before serving as national security advisor from 69 to 75 and Secretary of State from 73 to 77 under Richard
Wasn't there some counterintelligence in that Harvard in those years somewhere around there? Didn't he do some? I thought there's something in there where before he goes fully, I thought he did some counter something. He was doing something. Kissinger gave the green light to Argentinian dictatorship's murderous crackdown, which saw thousands kidnapped, tortured, and killed. That's his MO. Thank you, Piper, for that. But Kamau, again, we have to be fair here on the Remix Morning Show. I mean, part of the balance, of course, is that what makes him such a controversial figure for some is that he had to stop all of that had to be done to stop the spread of communism. I mean, we can't have had that situation where we got China and the Soviet Union running amok and the Soviet Union, of course, still existing. So, and by the way, if I did, I apologize. Did I say Robin Williams? My apologies to all the ancestors for that. And it's literally right here in front of me. Robert F. Williams is who I was talking about.
That's what you said, babe.
I think you did say Robert.
Okay. I was just looking at the chat. That was like, I was like, wow, did I actually say Rob? Oh my goodness.
No, you totally said Robert. I had a good friend growing up who was Cambodian, who hit me to all of the American atrocities in Cambodia that we are never taught, that most people are not aware of. And in addition to the hundreds of thousands of Cambodian civilians that were murdered during U.S. bombings, there are still literally thousands, tens of thousands of unexploded munitions from the Vietnam era that still are in Southeast Asia, still sitting there, still blowing up people's legs and stuff. Like the lasting repercussions, even beyond the immediacy of the people that were slaughtered during the Vietnam War. Kissinger's legacy is still being felt right now. You know what I'm saying, in Southeast Asia. And I hope, and it's not going to be included in his legacy in these mainstream media tributes, but that's why I think it's important that our outlet and others like us tell the truth, tell the history, and be listening to the people, to the Vietnamese people, to the Cambodian people, to the Laotian people. Let them tell their story about what Kissinger and Nixon and Johnson and the rest of them murderers row of demons came and fucked up their country and enabled people like the Khmer Rouge to come to power. And et al. Right? So yeah.
No,
I went back and watched. Yeah, go ahead. My bad. Go ahead.
No, you got no. I was just going to expand to like in South America and Chile, supported Pinochet overthrowing of the different governments, targeted assassinations. They mentioned East Timor, the basically genocidal war that the U.S. sponsored again, if I'm not mistaken, by Indonesia on East Timor to keep it as an island colony. Sorry about that, Jared. I know that bothers you in the background. That's a Get's fault. That was the refrigerator that time, not the fire alarm. So that history is still strong too, in terms of what Kissinger is responsible for. I mean, if any full list of all the war in South Africa. In terms of continuing and keeping the South African apartheid regime in power, and starting wars in neighboring countries and so forth. Kissinger's history, like you said, of ghoulish accents, and it still reverberates today, like you said.
He was just wrong all the way forever across the board. And I just went back early this morning, watched an old interview on C-SPAN with Christopher Hitchens, who, of course, would himself unfortunately be later wrong on Iraq and other wars and whatnot, but on his work on Kissinger seemed to be pretty on point. And he did claim that Johnson and Robert McNamara would later regret they felt sort of, he put it like they felt manipulated by Kissinger and would later regret it.
There's a whole documentary of McNamara and the Fog of War.
I saw
where
that.
He tries to sort of allegedly take a step back, and revise his opinions of what he was responsible and pushed for, particularly under the Kennedy administration, right? And I assume, I think under Johnson also, but I know under Kennedy is where he sort of first came to popular service or known service in the government. So,
yep, I saw that documentary when it came out, and was even in the crowd for a post-documentary discussion where folks rightly called out the fact that they were like, "Nah, we're not letting this movie let these fools off the hook. Like, this is a cute little documentary for your end of life rebranding, but get there, get up out of here with that nonsense." So I was, that was nice. And Operation Condor Infinite Content is I honestly don't remember Kissinger's direct involvement with that, but I don't remember many of the details of that either. So
this demon was busy.
I'm sure he would have been. Yeah.
They say when they say the devil is busy, this is what the fuck they mean. This is what they mean.